Hey, good evening everyone, welcome to ZSR3 and welcome to the Skyward Sword 80% tournament today with the first match from Loser's Bracket Round 1. Pikastroff versus drsenseihugo. Without further ado, let's mute the music and let's actually switch to the layout, right? So here we go, and on top I want to say hi to Lepalok dealing with the commentary tonight. Hey
Hello.
Lepalok, what up?
Not much. Just commentating a nice race.
I hope so. Can't be sure it's a nice race yet.
Of course it will be. Knowing these people, these fine people. Pika with the classic file name.
Baguette.
Baguette.
We need more baguette.
The baguette file name for good luck. I don't know if that counts as cheating or not. Alright, seems like they are ready and about to start. And they're off. Nice. But yeah, welcome to Skyward Sword. 80% tournament. I think this is the first race of the losers bracket, so unfortunately both of them have been knocked out of the winners bracket, but they can still make their comeback, so there we go. First thing to note, we're playing in hero mode. It's just faster, because you can skip cutscenes. And Hugo went to the right door, the left door, which is the correct door. So a little bit faster. Had to point that out. But yeah, they're playing in a different language, because even though Japanese is faster, I believe Hugo only has the PAL version. Shoutouts to PAL. At the beginning, you just need to do a little bit of casual Skyward Sword stuff. Talking to that guy, and there you can already see how much faster the Japanese text is than the English text. It's really dumb. I hate it. Also, nobody of them talked to Fledge. So I think they will be doing the old route. So they had to been a little bit of a reroute of any percent. I mean, it's still quite old at this point, but which rearranged some parts of the later game. And for that, to do that route, you need to talk to Fledge for flags and stuff. Because a lot of the glitches in this game depends on certain flags you have set on files, and on files you can do in back in time. But we will come to that in a moment when we are actually going to execute back in time for the first time. Gotta make sure to save. And then we are gonna play the oh no, they are so bad they're taking damage game. Because casually, you would need to go to Gru's, watch that cutscene, then come back to the Sparran Hall and get the practice sword, then rescue a Loftwing, win the wing ceremony, and then follow fight to get the goddess sword. And then you can finally leave Skyloft. But our goal is pretty much to leave Skyloft as quickly as possible, but we also still need to rescue the Loftwing, because otherwise we would be pretty stuck after placing in the light pillar. Also, it seems like Hugo is playing on Wii U, so he has to reset through the home menu. And so yeah, this is back in time. So if you die and press continue and then reset, the game will execute the actions to give you control and to bring you on the title screen at the same time, which will result in getting control of that on the title screen. It's not precise at all, but there are a lot of things you can do in Back in Time, which sometimes are a bit complicated. So you also saw Pikastroff bonking a tree so that the lower academy gates open, which is because the file in slot 1, and now it's also copied to slot 2, has the academy gates open. And then there was another trick to create this corrupt file. So if you delete a file and then save it afterwards, the game will still set everything on that file to 0, but it will register, alright, this is a file that is saved. So that's why you can open it. And the good thing in Back in Time, the door that's blocking the inside of the statue, to go here inside the goddess statue, it's not there in Back in Time, so you can just come here. And Pikastroff started his file as soon as he got the goddess sword in Back in Time, which then is the first instance of reverse bit magic. So the way it works is you start the file, and then the game sets a flag, because as soon as you start a file, the game will delete basically all the progress you made in Back in Time. But if you make some progress, I just call it progress, basically setting a flag after you started the file, this progress will get applied to the file you just started. And I believe Hugo unfortunately failed the RBM. So you also saw Pikastroff only got the sword after talking to Grooves, so even though he already had the sword when he started Back in Time, you need to reload the area so that the game actually registers, alright, you have this sword now, I equip it to you, and you can use it. And we can use the sword to get into the waterfall cave to rescue a Loftwing, so that we can skip the practice sword. Funny story, we still get the practice sword, but it's a little bit faster to do it in this order, because this also allows us to create a corrupt file. And you will see in a bit what the corrupt file does, since it's really nice and really useful. But yeah. Meanwhile, Pikastroff is progressing and saving the Loftwing. Alright, and now we unlocked our Loft Wing. And now we're forced into this Loft Wing tutorial. So this tutorial basically teaches you how to use the Loft Wing, flap your wings, and controlling it and such. I hope you like the tutorial. We're gonna see it a bit more. For reasons I will explain later. It basically doesn't matter what you do in this tutorial, as long as you flap your wings 2 times, because that advances the text Zelda gives you. And then it's pretty much just waiting for the timer to end. Until Zelda's like, hey, we can go back now and do the wing ceremony. But the reason we would need to do the wing ceremony is to get the sacral and then do the follow 5 sequence to get into the statue of the goddess. But as you've already seen before, we have a different way to get into the statue of the goddess, which involves going into back in time. And we don't actually need the sacral for anything in this run. So yeah, we can just skip it. Normally you need the sacral. What do you need it casually for? I mean, it's pretty much only used for giving you less fall damage, I guess. So it's not required anywhere. But during the fight chase, there is a flag that gets set that opens the door. So in old runs, you had to get the sacral for the only reason that you are able to open the door so you can learn the spiral charge from one of the professors in the academy. But since we don't have to do that anymore, that's not necessary. And we can just skip the sacral. And we do that by going into back in time, which is also the reason why we created the corrupt file. This is, by the way, the safe route. So there are a few different routes you can do on Skyward. And some of them involve doing a 2-frame perfect cutscene skip after the Loft Wing tutorial, which you really don't want to do in a race since it wastes several minutes if you fail it. So what we basically do now is get the practice sword in back in time. So we have now escaped. Normally after the tutorial for the Loft Wing, you are forced into the wing ceremony. But with back in time, we can skip that since there's a save prompt. And we need to open the corrupt file to not crash when we get the practice sword for some reason. I don't know why, but it's weird. And yeah, now we did a reverse bit magic trick to get the practice sword story flag on file 1, which will be used later. So the only thing this does is raise the gossip stone with the tutorial videos. And funnily enough, that's actually useful. And it's the only reason why we got the practice sword. It has something to do with flat shenanigans, so I will come back to that later. And now that we have gotten our Loft Wing, we can finally escape from Skyloft and place the tablet we got. Even though the tablet is entirely useless, you can, as long as you can open up. Actually, we haven't even really gotten the tablet. We never got it. Normally, I think the cutscene after you get the goddess sword gives you the tablet, but even if you skip it, you can still put in the tablet, since you're not supposed to ever not have the tablet if you have the goddess sword. Skip a few more cutscenes. We now get the hero's tunic. Nice. Oh, also something worth mentioning. Pikastroff copied file 1 to file 2 in back in time, which is very, very important. Because this file is an early game file, which doesn't have the hero's tunic. And that's required for a few tricks later, because back in time has the unfortunate thing that it crashes sometimes with certain, in certain configurations. So, for example, if you have the hero's tunic, you can't go to night back in time, night Skyloft. But if you have a file that has saved before the hero's tunic, you can, so that's nice. And also we need a file that is after the wing ceremony, the Loftwing tutorial, so that the sky is in a specific state, which will be very important later. Also, Pikastroff got the sword. Yeah, the shield, I mean. It's not necessarily needed for the speedrun, but it just makes a few fights easier and faster. But overall, it's slower to grab, but I guess for safety, it's a really good choice. Alright, now we can finally go to the first region, which is Farron. Pikastroff would try a trick to skip a fight trigger that is around the pillar. So normally when you get close to the pillar, a cutscene of Fi will play where she's like, hey, look, there's a pillar, you can probably dive into it, but, well, we already know that. But the cutscene only triggers if you're on the Loftwing, so if you jump off the Loftwing before you hit the trigger, you can still dive in the light pillar and don't have to worry about it. Conveniently, the trigger is also gone after you were into the light pillar the first time, so you don't need to worry about that anymore. Even though I don't think we come back to Farron. Which is kind of funny. Alright. Gotta deal with the stupid Diggababas. I know we have to jump down and take damage. Normally you're supposed to use your Cell, but well, we don't really have that. So I hope he gets the jump. Nice. For some reason, if you do the side hop in a specific way, you won't take full damage because it's not that deep apparently. But if you're just a little bit, if you fall just a little bit more, then you take full damage. Alright, so now we can lot of strike the stone there. And yeah, Fi wants to explain us what dowsing is, but we say no, don't explain that please. But she's like, hey, dowsing is this and that. So yeah, Fi is not really listening. Fun fact, there is a way to skip this cutscene trigger of Fi, but it wastes like a minute or so, because it's a really dumb trick. Unfortunately. It would be kinda nice if you could skip a lot of the Fi cutscene triggers. Also, you saw Hugo there diving a little bit more to the left, towards the Farron light pillar. This is actually that you hit a different loading zone into the sky, because there are a lot of different loading zones that lead into the sky. There's not only one, because depending on where exactly you load, you call your Loftwing, you will get sent to a different location into the sky. And nice, learning something new every day. And if you go a little bit to the left, then you hit the one that's closer to the Farron light pillar. So that's a little bit off time save. Pika should probably concentrate on advancing impulse text. Since it's already way too long. So yeah, this is the beginning of Skyward Sword is a bit long because you have Skyloft, which is not too interesting, I guess, and then you have Impulse text, which is really long and dumb. But yeah, there's just no way around it. Well, there is a way around it, but that's even slower. Also, hardest part of the run, placing the beacon correctly. There we go, second try. Easy every time. Alright, Hugo got hit by the Dicobabas as well, but he managed to still get it with the side out like Pika did, so that's nice. Because health management is one of the most important things to do in Skyward Sword. Because Back in Time involves dying, you pretty much always want to be at low health. But there are also some tricks that require you to take damage, or are just faster to take damage. And so you kind of have to manage your health. Hugo missed early Goddess Sword, the early Goddess Sword RBM once, which cost him unfortunately a bit of time. And also, another reason to play in hero mode is because the Skyward Strike is really overpowered. And we can just kill all the bokoblins at once, which is really convenient. So yeah, now the Goron talks to us and activate the statue and such. Standard stuff. Also on Hugo's side, you see, if you go into these updrafts without having a Cyclops, Link just raises his arms into the air. Normally the animation plays into the Silent Realms, because there you don't have the Cyclops as well. So, but normally you're never supposed to go into these updrafts without the Cyclops. In like normal gameplay, that is not a trial. That's kind of funny. Alright, so we're finally reaching Faron Woods. The actual Faron Woods. Oh, also Hugo did a little bit of a, not really a cutscene skip, but you can skip the fade out. Normally, if you run into the trigger for the impact cutscene, it does a little fade out and then fades in again. But you can skip that if you do a side up into it, which saves like a little bit of time. Oh, that's nice. Alright, time to rescue all the Kikris. Since they're getting attacked by bokoblins, or I don't know, are just hiding in general. So pretty much, yeah, the goal here is to get all the Kikris, to get the slingshot, because the slingshot also unlocks the item wheel, so it gives us the ability to collect all the other items. The slingshot in itself is not the most useful. It is used a few times in the run, but we would be fine without it. The real problem comes from not being able to open the item wheel. Not only is he on English, he's on PAL. Shout out to PAL. Wow. And he's running on Wii U, I believe. So he's doing the same setup as me. Fun fact. Alright. Pikastroff bonked this tree. You're normally not supposed to do that, but you can bonk the tree from below so that the wine comes down. I believe it was on disc, but I'm not entirely sure. Right. Getting the first Kikwi Machi. So that we can progress and get the other Kikwis. By the way, if you don't talk to Machi, the Kikwi Ella actually doesn't spawn. Even though normally there's a fight trigger that prevents you from going up and even getting to the Elder if you haven't talked to Machi yet. But you can skip it with a simple jump. So yeah, shoutouts to that. But it's not useful since I already said the Kikwi Elder isn't there and you can't really do anything. Can't progress, can't get the slingshot. Alright, another goblin fight. Really nice and quick and easy. With the upgraded Skyward Strike of Hero mode. By the way, you can do a skip that saves 1 second if you do a frame perfect roll to hit this Kikwi down before the cutscene plays. But it only saves 1 second. If you miss it, it wastes like 3 seconds, so it's not worth it at all. I don't think anyone goes for it. Like, seriously. Yeah, otherwise I wouldn't really much to say about Farron. Because we're pretty much just gathering the Kikwis together so that we can talk to the Elder, which also gives us the slingshot. So normally, casually, you're supposed to talk to the Elder first, because then he gives you the option for the Kikwi so you can find them easier, but we don't need that. We know where all the Kikwis are. So yeah, we can just skip that since it's also a really long text. Also, this Kikwi Pika is doing right now is probably one of the worst because you need to cut the grass in a certain way, which unfortunately he did not get, so that the Kikwi doesn't move at all. Since the Kikwi always wants to hide in the grass, so if there's enough grass left, he will always, yeah, crawl there really slowly and hide there, like hide, even if you cut the grass directly afterwards. He would still move there, so it's dumb. So you have to cut it in a certain way. You have to like cut half of it so that he is still in the grass and then cut the rest of it so he's immediately exposed and doesn't move at all. But as long as he moves, he didn't move that long, so that's not too bad. And now that was the last Kikwi. Pretty much. And now it's time to get back to the Elder and talk to him as well. So that we finally get what we really wanted from all this, which is the slingshot. Also, yeah, shoutouts to all the Kikwis saying that the Elder is the one that is the best at hiding. Even though I don't really know if they actually looked for the Elder once. Since if they would have, they wouldn't make such a statement. I mean, the Elder is probably the best hidden Kikwi in the entire game, to be honest. I don't know how I found them casually. Nice side up. Nice. Finally got the slingshot, so yeah. Most of the boring part is over now. All kickweeds. Yeah, we pretend that didn't happen, even though it looked swag. And now we're going into deep woods to our first temple, which is Skyward Temple. Oh, I should also mention how stamina works in this game. So you see there's always the stamina bar if you're running. So the last quarter of the stamina bar depletes the slowest, but it still refills at the rate as all the rest of the stamina bar. So you always want to be in that last quarter. And you also only want to run, because rolling, even though rolling is a frame faster if you do it, it wastes a lot more stamina, so you pretty much always want to roll if you have the stamina, but if you don't have stamina left, then you just want to run. We got a sneak peek at our first enemy. Girahim's feet. Oh, and now Pikastroff is setting up for a trick. Let's see if he gets it. No spoilers in chat. I want to make the suspense, because this is a very hard trick. It relies on RNG at the end, if you get it or not. And he got it. This is called extended blow. So what you basically do is you kill the bokoblin and do a final blow on it at the same time. And you do that by having him bounce right off the edge. So if you do the final blow then, the game already has killed the bokoblin, so the coordinates of the bokoblin are already zeroed out. So the game thinks the target of this final blow is at 0, 0, 0, which conveniently is right in front of Skyward Temple. So that makes you flying across the map, which is really nice. And that saves a lot of time, because you don't have to activate the Goddess Cube, and you also skip the fire text in front of Skyview. Even though there are other methods of skipping the fire text in front of Skyview, it's really convenient if you can just fly over it. And yeah, arriving at Skyward Temple, we will now go back in time again by using the keys. And we will do a different kind of back in time shenanigans as we did before. And what we're gonna do is called a bit warp. So what it does is, if you save your file in back in time and then start it, you will actually be saved in back in time. But if you save and start the file at the same time, the game will still start the file on the map you were saved in, but it will load the coordinates from Skyloft. And so this is how we get teleported right into this room. This is the main room in Skyloft, but it's also unloaded because we are still saved at the goddess at the statue in the first room. And to properly load this room, we can enter this door, and now everything is properly loaded. So that's nice. But there's also a different reason to come to this room, which is we need to break a specific board to set a flag. And this is the flag that raises the pedestal where you can put in the tablets to open up new light pillars in Skyloft. So that's nice. And the reason we came here, instead of just saving at the statue in the main room and then reloading, which would have also fixed the loading of the room is that we now can activate the shortcut, because otherwise we wouldn't have been able to open the shortcut. But now that we opened up the shortcut, we can get the beetle, which is another item we need, and then go back. And this skips a lot of the dungeons, so it skips all of the first half going into the main room completely, and then also skips a key and a few puzzles in the second half. Because all we have to do now is get the boss key, like after the beetle fight, get the boss key, and then yeah, we're done with this dungeon. This fight is made a lot quicker by having a shield, so that's convenient to have it. And there's the beetle. So beetle flying is pretty straightforward. The beetle flies a little bit faster if it's flying only directly horizontally. So if you need the beetle to go a little bit up, you want to have him rise up as much as possible and then just fly in a straight line to your target, and that's it. Alright, and since Pika is not a complete idiot like me last time, he will get this rupee. So this is another very important rupee. We don't really care about the rupee, like it's 20 rupees, yay, but all we care about is the flag that this sets. Since the flag this sets on Skyview, if you transfer that into Skyloft, it allows you to open the door to the demon's house to patrol. So that's nice. Also, it seems like Hugo missed or didn't attempt Extended Blow, but he's now getting the backup, which is Cube Warp. So what you do is you manipulate the Boko into a precise position, not really precise position, but basically then you can do a Skyward Strike, and it only works because you have the upgraded Skyward Strike from Hero Mode, so that you can hit the Goblin and have the Skyward Strike go up that much, that you can hit the Goddess Cube. And this Goddess Cube just always teleports you there. And also this is a cutscene skip Hugo just did to skip the fight text in front of Skyview. Which is really nice, because that fight text is terrible, I hate it. So I'm glad this text exists, this text skip exists. Alright, and what we're gonna see now Pika doing is we're gonna save file 3 and then immediately copy file 1 over file 3. This is because we want to have file 3 still be saved in this exact spot on Skyloft. And then we're gonna see him starting the file and then running into the cutscene trigger, which will then apply the flag of the this hint stone rising up and back in time. And this is basically the power of reverse bit magic. I've mentioned flags a few times before. Flags are really important in this game speedrun, because what we can do is we can transfer flags from areas we can reach and back in time on our main run file. And the thing is, these flags we can get are like specific to the areas. So, for example, the flag of this hint stone rising up and back in time corresponds to something totally different on Skyview Temple, and you will see in a bit what it exactly does, but it will allow for a lot of sequence breaks, since, yeah, basically we're doing something totally different. But the reason we are doing this is because that's just how flags align up in memory. So it's just that there's a space in memory that has the currently loaded scene flags, and we can manipulate it with back in time. There's a lot more that goes into it, but yeah, that's the gist of it, like the short explanation. And also the reverse is true, we can load flags from our run file into back in time. And yeah, that's what it did. It opened up the door behind Girahim. So there is no reason to fight Girahim in this run. The only reason you normally fight Girahim is to open the door, but yeah, since we open the door with reverse bit magic, we don't have to fight Girahim. Conveniently, this also means that there is no cutscene here. Normally there would be a little cutscene with Link looking around, but we can skip it. It's nice. And yeah, there was Skyview, the first dungeon. Completed. And we still have a file saved there because we like it so much. That's not exactly the reason, but... let's pretend that's the reason. Alright, now it's time for another very important trick. I will try to explain what exactly is going on, but what we basically do is we're gonna open up Eldin, but on file 2 instead of file 1. And so what we do is we do back in time, so we save and quit, since it's the fastest way to do back in time is to load up file 3. Because normally after you beat Skyview, there's a cutscene with the Kikwi being annoying and saying, hey, do you still remember me? But yeah, we can totally skip that by doing this trick. So first of all, we're gonna bonk with file 2. And bonking with file 2 will open up the academy gates, so that we don't have to fall down to get up there. And we're also gonna get this blue rupee with file 1. And that also loads in our inventory flags. And the inventory flags are something like the tablet we got from Skyward Temple. So now we have the tablet from Skyward Temple here, which will allow us to raise the pedestal. No, it doesn't allow us to raise the pedestal, but if we now put in a tablet into the pedestal, there we go, we open up Eldin instead of Farron. And then we talk to the Upper Academy statue with file 3, because this loads in a flag from file 3 from Skyview Temple, which allows this pedestal to be raised. Which just skips the animation of you Skyward striking it. And now you can see we put in the Ember tablet, the Ruby tablet, there we go. And yeah, this will now trigger the cutscene of the Elden Light Pillar opening. And this is another instance of RBM, Reverse Bit Magic. So if the Light Pillar is forming, it sets a story flag. And if we start file 2 right before the value is set on file 2, and there we go, we can confirm the light pillar is actually formed. We can apply it to file 2. So we now have a file that is saved in early game, but it also has the Elden Light Pillar opening. And this is very important, as you will see soon. And yeah, as I said, health management is important. For an upcoming trick, we need to be able to take 4 hearts of damage, so it's just a convenient way to get rid of a potion. And since we only opened up Eldin on file 2, on our early game file, it's not open on file 1. And since we also need to go to Elden on file 1, we just open it on file 1 as well, since we still have the tablet. It's a bit confusing why we need file 2 to be set up in that specific way, but it's really crucial to the speedrun. And yep. Yep, indeed, 2. 2 is our great file, or savior. Meanwhile, Hugo is still in Skyward Temple, having fun with the vines. Even though he's doing pretty well. I just got memed, I'm fine. I will survive it. Right, Pikastroff is now in Elden. And the first thing we want to do in Elden is back in time, since normally there is a huge sequence where you need to open up the path to the cave, to the underground caves, but what we're gonna do is a bit different. Since the loading zone to the cave always exists, and yeah, you just can't get to it, but with the power of back in time, we can in fact do it. And we're gonna do another bit warp. This is a bit more of a precise one, since we want to spawn inside of a goddess cube, and then the goddess cube pushes Link out of bounds. Nice, you got it. So now we're falling into the loading zone. Want to do a jump slash since we can't prevent fall damage anyway, and if you do a jump slash, Link won't do a long animation after getting hurt. I don't care that Link get hurt, we just want the short animation. And yeah, the goal here is to get the digging mitts, since we needed to progress the game. There are also ways to skip the digging mitts, but it's slower, unfortunately. So yeah, that's the digging mitts. Now we can use them to get up here. Oh, unfortunately Hugo was too slow to save at the statue, and the bokoblin already died. So normally the bokoblin is still there and they can use him to do back in time, but if you don't save in time, the bokoblin sets a flag that he's dead, and yeah. That means he's not there anymore when you load in again and can't kill you, but fortunately you can just get another bokoblin to kill ya. And now we're gonna see the same thing Pika did a bit earlier on Hugo's screen as well. Nice! Pikastroff just got the most important trick in the entire run. It's called circles, and it looks funny. It saves no time, but you don't need to know that. But it's very important to get that trick. So now the run is blessed. And yeah, Hugo also bonked the tree with file 2, got the rupee with file 1, so now the flags of file 2 are applied and the gates are open, And also the inventory flags from File 1 are loaded, which means we have now the tablet. What I didn't mention last time is we also did a save of File 1, which allows us to really save on Skyloft. So as soon as we load File 1, we will be in Skyloft, which is very convenient because that means we just skip a bit of travel back from Skyloft, Skyview to Skyloft. So many skies. Right, meanwhile, Pikastroff isn't back in time as well. And he's doing an interesting RBM. So for that one, we need to sleep tonight. Since, yeah, the thing we want to do in Back in Time is only possible at night. Oh, also, if you get a chance, look at Hugo's file setup now. So if you save and quit, the file that is open will still say examine the light pillar. No, it says something with the column of light, and that's how you know that you got it. So what Pika just did in Back in Time is push the gravestone and start the file. And this applies the flag of the shed opening to Elden, which will do something very nice. And you will see in a bit what it exactly does. But first, we kill the sandy slopes. And now we're gonna do a bit of a trick to manipulate the bokoblin in throwing another rock. So if you normally go up there, the bokoblin will not grab another rock, but instead he will step on your hand, and you will take damage and fall down. But if you're far enough away, he will grab another rock, and while he is in the animation of grabbing the rock and throwing it down, he can't actually hurt you and throw you down. So that's why we do that. That's why we wait a bit before going up. And otherwise it's pretty much only stamina management. Making sure that you don't run out of stamina. Making sure you don't get killed by the bokoblin since you're only at 2 hearts. And since it's hero mode, these bokoblins, yeah, they deal 2 hearts of damage. So that's not something you want to happen to you. Alright, time for the Mogmas. So these Mogmas are really smart. Apparently they noticed that the bokoblins, or some enemies, broke up the key to Earth Temple and hid it in certain holes. And now the question is, how the hell can we get into this temple? Until finally one has the idea, we can just dig underground. What a beautiful idea if you're a Mogma. And then Fire has to repeat that. Have you really caught what they just said? Or are you dumb because Fire always thinks we're dumb? But we didn't listen. Because we still think the door is open, and we're right. So this is what the RBM did, the reverse bit magic. It opened up the door to Earth Temple. Because it's the same flag at the shed opening in Skyloft. Which is really convenient, because it's a flag we can quickly get to. Right, and now just gonna do a few cutscene skips. So if you Skyward strike the ropes here, and then do a roll, and you're in the air while the cutscene is happening, the cutscene will get skipped, and you will get control. You will get control during the cutscene, which is really nice, because these cutscenes, because especially this cutscene is really long. It feels nice to skip it. Right, gonna kill this enemy because he can be annoying. Kill this other enemy because he can be annoying as well. You don't need to do it, but for safety it's nice. Because they really can't kill you, and you're only on 2 hearts, so touching the lava once or getting hit by an enemy once is an instant death, so don't really want to do that. But now we gotta get bombs. So bombs are a really important item. Because you can damage yourself with them. And since back in time it involves damaging yourself and dying, that's quite nice. Alright. We can start this Zelda's fight earlier by hitting them with, which skips the animation of them walking towards you. Because normally if you trigger this fight, they walk really slowly towards you, and then you can start fighting them. Alright, now it's time for bombs. Oh, Hugo unfortunately missed circles. Sad. And then we get bombs again. Nice. And yeah, you actually get the bomb twice there. And the text is just different because of scene flags. Alright, and now it's time for Back in Time again. Meanwhile, Hugo is still doing the same Back in Time we saw Pika doing earlier. And if you like this Back in Time, you're in luck, because Pikastroff is doing it as well again. So it just happens to be that this flag is useful for more than one purpose. It just happens to be useful on Eldin and on Earth Temple as well. So yeah, sleeping in this bed. And then pushing the grave. And there you can see they always select file 2 before going out in the night, and then you will see that Link will have his, I don't know, training clothes, but he doesn't have the hero's tunic, which is very important because having the hero's tunic crashes if you go out in night Back in Time. It's not exactly that the hero tunic crashes, but it will load a different version of Night Skyloft, which then crashes. That was a nice jump, Hugo. Fortunately, there's a void plane before you can hit the lava. And yeah, what this Back in Time did was raising the, I don't know, solving this puzzle for getting into the second half of Earth Temple. But it also opened up the Thunderhead, which is a really nice side effect of this Back in Time, since otherwise opening the Thunderhead is quite tedious. But the cutscene of the Thunderhead opening can be started in Back in Time if you have the correct scene flag set. And since we had that when we pushed the grave, the story flag for the Thunderhead being opened was set. And also, yeah, the puzzle here in Earth Temple was skipped. It is a bit confusing, but it's really nice that this worked out like it did, and we can skip doing all of the Thunderhead stuff. Early Thunderhead was actually discovered before RBM was discovered, but doing it this way is really convenient, since otherwise it was done in a different Back in Time. Alright, getting the boss key. Then going into the boss room to fight what most people consider the worst boss of the game, Skyward. Skyward is a pretty bad boss. That was a nice puzzle. Also, on Hugo's side, you will see a little bit of camera manipulation, because when the platforms... Oh man, he got... Oh, that didn't work out because of the keys, but if these platforms aren't on camera, they're actually not moving, so you can delay their cycle, and that's really nice, because it's just a little bit quicker and you don't have to wait for them. And stocking out on bombs. These bombs are important. Right. And now it's time for Girahim to talk a lot. Way too much, for some reason. But that's fine, I guess. So the strat for this boss is... I don't know. What are you done? Pikastroff is going for a different strat though. Because usually you only want to hit him once with a normal slash in the first phase. Since basically what you want to do is you want to do as much damage as possible before Skyward goes into his next phase. And then you can do enough damage to skip that last phase. Because now Skyward is damaged enough that he will run up. And then go back down again. And let's see if Pikastroff will get the quick cycle. If she's dead after this. Nice! That was a really good fight. This fight can be really annoying Especially because the hitbox of the eye is questionable, to say the least. But yeah, sometimes the Skyward Strike just won't hit for no reason. Oh, it's interesting. Hugo did the RBM first, before getting bombs. It's just a different strat. It's a little bit faster though. He also tried to skip the magma text. So what you can do is you can jump. Jump off the little ball of the ball and go on a higher ledge and then skip around the text of the magma, which saves a bit of time, but it's not a big deal if you miss it. Right, and that's a temple complete in Pikastroff's side. So until now, we've pretty much followed the usual flow of events. We've been to Farron, we got the slingshot there, we've been to Skyview Temple, we got the beetle there. We have been in Earth Temple, we got bombs there, and also got the digging bits on the way up. So it's time to spice things up. Because right now we're not going directly to the next area, which is Lanairu, but what we're doing instead is we are going to... we're first going to the Thunderhead, since this is, like I said, we've opened the Thunderhead in the Back in Time in Earth Temple. And so we go to the Thunderhead to get Pharaoh's Courage. Since Pharaoh's Courage is required to open up the trial in Farron, there's just no way around it, unfortunately. Yeah, now I have to be careful in Thunderheads, and sometimes the Sky Tails are really aggressive, but sometimes they aren't. Now, let's get to the Isle of Songs. I hope Pikastroff is the one with the music, so you can enjoy the music. It's just a little bit of a puzzle here, nothing special. The puzzle is the same every time, so it's just about memorizing how to do it. Also, Hugo is now in the second half of Earth Temple. And the reason you have to die to raise the platforms is because we activate, we set the flag that they are raised in Back in Time, but they don't directly respond to that. So, in order for those objects to really get, oh hey, we should really be raised now, you need to reload the area, and the quickest way to do that is to just do a death warp, which also conveniently gives us 6 hearts, which speeds up the Scaldera fight a bit, as you've already seen on Pikastroff's side. And also something I didn't mention, what Hugo is doing right now, is stutter sprinting up here. And also he did a trick to let the boulders roll beside him. So that just skips a puzzle where you need to blow up the middle ground to make a platform where you can rest. But since we have enough stamina and stutter sprinting, we can make it all the way up without needing that little alcove, I guess, as a rest platform. I know. On Pikastroff's side, we have gotten now Pharaoh's Courage. And spoilers, it will be the only song we get. And the reason we saved inside and then went outside is because back in time, inside is actually straight up impossible. For some reason, it just doesn't work. So yeah, what we're gonna do is we're gonna do something similar what we did with the Elden Light Pillar, where we opened it on file 2 and back in time, except now we're gonna open the Lanayru Light Pillar and we're gonna open it on file 1. We don't need the Light Pillar open on file 3, just, I don't know, there's no reason for it. We don't need it, but we're gonna do this in back in time because it skips the file text after the Light Pillar has formed, because then file is like, hey, maybe check out this Light Pillar maybe. But also we can do a bit save to get conveniently put back on Skyloft as soon as we load the file. So yeah. We're gonna go back here. And since we selected file 3 and then talked to the Upper Academy statue, that loaded in the flag that the pedestal for the tablets is raised. So that's nice. So we can just place in our tablet and watch the cutscene, and as soon as the light pillar forms, well, a little bit after, but when the light pillar forms, we're going to start file 1, which then applies the story flag of the light pillar being open to Skyward. So the difference between story flags and scene flags is that story flags are global. So it doesn't matter how you get that story. Like, if you RBM a story flag, it will always be the same thing on a file. So for example, this light pillar always corresponds to the light pillar being open, but of the other RBMs which have been done with scene flags in the run, they did something different. So we did something on Skyloft and it affected Earth Temple, for example, where we skipped the platforms by raising them in back in time. So now it's time for the Lanayru. So if you think we're just gonna go back to playing it pretty casually now, with going through the mines, getting Hook Beetle, raising Lanayru mining facility, getting Gust Bellows, and then finally getting Harp, we're gonna shorten Lanayru a little bit. Alright, so there you already have seen on Hugo's side that the hitbox of the eye is kind of questionable. And I really hate it. Alright, so Pikastroff talked to the Bazaar statue with File 3, which will then load in the scene flag from File 3, which, if you remember correctly, that was the file from Skyview where we did a bunch of stuff. And this bunch of stuff opened up the door here to Batro. Since Batro is our friend, and we're gonna use him. Yeah, first we're gonna pretend to hit him, but of course we're not gonna actually hit him. Also, shoutouts to Hugo for destroying all of Scaldera's rocks. and getting that bingo goal. Shoutouts to bingo, by the way. And yeah. So on Pika's side, with the specific file 3 setup, which allowed her to go into Petro's house, we can now finish Petro's text and start the file at the same time, which does multiple things. First of all, it will set a scene flag, which normally opens up Petro's house that you can leave, but on Lanayru it does something very different. And you will see in a second what exactly it does. So, because... and then he shot the hidden rupee. The reason for that is because when you do something and back in time, and then you're on your main file again, it's not permanently saved what you did in back in time. And now you can see what it did. It opened up the bird statue there in Temple of Time, so now we can fly to it. And yeah, we had to make a real change. So this hidden rupee is a temporary flag, and this temporary flag allows us to leave the area and still have this scene flag be persistent, so that we can fly to it, fly to the statue. And yeah, by this we have done everything we need to do in the first segment of Lanayru, because now we have the harp. And this was an excellent done cutscene skip, because after this sequence of getting the harp, there's a save prompt, and then there should be a fight cutscene, which is a pretty similar concept to how the wing ceremony cutscene skip works. But yeah, if you missed this one, it's not too bad. It's just 30 seconds. And yeah, it's really nice if you get this, because 30 seconds is a nice time save. And currently on Hugo's screen, you see there's a cutscene with Fi, which triggers it for the first time. You go into back in time. Also, I'm kind of confused that Hugo isn't going to the Thunderhead, but maybe he's doing a new, different route. I hope he didn't forget to get Thoro's Courage. It's not too bad, though. One thing to note about what Pikastroff is doing right now is... so this is a bit confusing, but basically what you need to do... What we have file 2 set in a very specific... in a very specific spot. File 2 has the wing ceremony, no, not the wing ceremony, the Loftway tutorial, but it also has the Elden Light Pillar open. And we can dive into the Light Pillar, and then we are in Farron, because it's the first time we are entering a Light Pillar, so there's a special cutscene for it, which just happens to place you into Farron every time. Which is very nice, because Elden just straight up crashes. So yes, you can reach Elden in back in time, but to do that because it crashes. And yeah, as soon as you open file 1, Fi will talk to you because you have Thoro's Courage. So Fi is like, hey, check out this cool, check out the Tri-Gate. And because we have the harp, we get Petro in back in time. And Petro is very important because he sets the sealed temple to be in a specific state so that we can raise the Gate of Time. Also shoutouts to Hugo for dying to the Octorok. Nice. It's very important to not select any file here, because if you would select a file, that story flag would be gone, and the layer of the sealed temple would be different, and you wouldn't be able to raise the Gate of Time. But now, we're gonna open up file 3 as soon as possible, and then file 2, and then, yeah, we get the Ballad of the Goddess. And after the Ballad of the Goddess, a scene flag, a scene change triggers. Oh, Bruce not perturbed, by the way. Yeah, There's a lot to explain here, okay? So basically, what happened there is the Seer Temple was in the correct layer for you to get the Ballad of the Goddess, and if you go into the circle and have the correct scene flag set, which is why we selected file 2, the game will automatically give you the cutscene and the item. Like, the game will give you the Ballad of the Goddess and then play the cutscene of the Gate of Time raising. Because we did a reverse bit warp, so not a bit warp, but the reverse thing, so we started file 1 and got into this cutscene, we now have the Gate of Time raised, but we have skipped the Ballad of the Goddess. Which is just a fun fact. The Ballad of the Goddess doesn't do anything for us anyway, because we already have the Thunderhead open. And now Pikastroff is doing one of the most complicated reverse bit magics, which is called Song of the Hero Skip. So, what we're doing is we're talking to the Upper Academy statue with file 1, and that will set the scene flag for talking to the Upper Academy statue to file 1, which is very important. Because we're gonna need that file to load that scene flag into Farron, so that we can make a change there, which we will then apply to the sealed grounds. And if that sounded complicated to you, then yeah, it is. It is. Yeah, it's the most complicated deck in time in the entire run. And it's really important to not select file 1 now, because if we would select file 1 now, then that scene flag change would get overwritten and we would lose that flag. And we can't do what we need to do in Farron. So yeah, we are back in time again, and we are diving into Farron again. And since it's our first time entering a light pillar, we get set to Farron. And the reason we enter the light pillar with file 3 is because file 3 already entered a light pillar, so the cutscene after you got into Farron is a bit shorter, as if you were to watch it with file 2. And also what we're gonna do is we're gonna bit save file 1. But we're gonna make sure to not update our flags on file 1. So we're gonna do a save and quit. Which loads in the item wheel, but we're not interested in that. So yeah, now we can enter Farron Woods. And since we entered with file 2, the cutscene will play. And so what we're gonna do now is we're gonna start file 1 as soon as possible, and then we're gonna skip the cutscene. And as soon as we skip the cutscene, the scene flag we got from Skyloft will trigger the doors to Lake Floria to open. And that will write 7x04, which is the flag, to file 1. And since we started it, it applied it to sealed grounds. And now this flag allows the door to the Horde fight be open. So yeah, that's Song of the Hero Skip. And also afterwards, there's this little area text on the top left that always pops up if you're in a new area, and that commits, so it persists the change that we have done Song of the Hero Skip. And even though I'm pretty confident that Pikastroff got it, there might be a chance that he missed Song of the Hero Skip actually, and we will not find out until the very end of the run. But it's not a problem, we can just redo it then. It's just a lot of uncertainty. Because even though the door is open now, we cannot reach the door. Alright. Hugo is doing his very special route. And he's getting the bottle for more fairies for the horde fight. Because the horde fight at the end can be really tricky, so he wants to be safe and get 2 fairies. Which is respectable. Yeah, I think so, Dodish. That looked pretty good. And now it's time to open up the trial gate. So, fun fact about this trial gate. Yes, you can do an RBM to open it. It's an RBM on Skyloft, so it's actually really fast. But the thing is, the trial cannot spawn if you don't have Pharaoh's Courage in your inventory. And there's just no way around it. That's just how it's programmed. And yeah. We just have to accept that. And this is the only reason we opened the Thunderhead. This is the only reason we went to the Isle of Songs. To be able to have Farron in the correct state to open up this trial gate. And now Fi is talking a lot about how a trial works. And this is a really long text. I don't know what they were thinking. I should have totally made that skippable. Alright, and the trials are pretty much how you would do them casually. Like, there aren't any glitches you can do here. You can reverse bitwarp into trials. That's possible. And it's pretty cool, but unfortunately it's very slow. So yeah. We're just gonna do this the fast, casual way. But the trials are really, really nice. Oh yeah, you can only reverse bitwarp into this trial specifically. But the trials are really cool to watch because the movement is so optimized. Yeah, that's just really nice to see how the route comes together for the individual tiers. And it's probably one of my favorite segments of the run. Also, you saw Pikastroff always like rolling before the crawl space, because if you're rolling into a crawl space, going through a crawl space is pretty slow, so you will try to minimize the time being in a crawl space, and if you what was I saying? A crawl space, yeah. Rolling into crawl spaces is fast. And I think Lanayru trial doesn't work because Lanayru Desert crashes. But I would need to double check that. I think... Oh, Gorge crashed? Okay. I thought this was more in the Nairu. Normal Desert doesn't? Alright. Well... then you can... Then you can actually do reverse bitwarp in there. But, yeah, that is really, really, really slow. And really, really hard to do. I have no idea how you can practice Trial Princess efficiently. But I'm pretty sure Skyward Twilight Princess has a Discord where you can ask there. I'm not sure if they have any practice codes or something, but usually you would just save before the hard section, and then if you fail it, just reload the save and then redo it. At least in Skyward Sword that works pretty well for most of the parts, but we also have practice codes now. I haven't tried them, but they are pretty nice, it seems. Alright, and Pikastroff has now completed the trial. So completing this trial does two things. So first of all, you get the water trail, but it also loads in the waterfall before Ancient Cistern, which is a problem because to go into Ancient Cistern, we would normally need to get sacred water, deliver it to the dragon, so that he can open up the waterfall. So yeah, we don't really want to do that. That's a nice Hugo boing himself back into the cutscene. Right. What Pikastroff is doing now is bit saving onto Skyloft. It's just a really quick way to get back to Skyloft since we're done with Farron Woods for now. But you also have to be careful to not have file 1 selected as you have control of Link, because that would trigger the Thunderhead cutscene, which would soft lock. And now we're gonna sleep today. And since we have met the Tro, this will trigger the Find Cookie quest to be complete. And then now we can apply the gratitude crystals that Cookie's mom will give to us to file 1. So now we have 5 gratitude crystals, and you might think, hey, why would I need 5 gratitude crystals? Well, the reason to get 5 gratitude crystals is, of course, to get the 5 gratitude crystal reward from Bertro. Even though we're not even interested in the reward, we're just interested in the story, in the scene flag it sets. But you will see why that is important in a second. Because now we have done trial 1, and now it's time to do the last and final trial. And that trial is in Elden. So if you've played this game casually, you know that after you've done Farron, you go to Lanayru, do the trial there, and then do the Saint Sea there. And after all that, you're able to get a new song to open up the Elden trial. But with the power of reverse bit magic, we are able to open up the trial in Elden without having the song needed for that. And this basically skips the need for everything else in the Lanayru. Like, we don't need to beat the Sandship, because Sandship is completely useless. The only reason you need to beat Sandship is to open up this trial, so yeah. That's a nice time save. So, how are we gonna open up this this trial? Well, we're gonna ask our good friend Petro. Oh, also what Pikastroff is doing there, he picked up the fruit with file 1. Oh, I thought he was doing the little jump through the border with the border dragon scale, but he's not doing it apparently. So I'm not sure why he picked up that fruit. Also, the reason why Pikastroff is going into first person mode there is because we talked to the statue with file 3. There is a life tree seedling planted on Skyloft. And if we get that life tree seedling, on camera, the game thinks, yeah, I think so as well, Leash. And that life tree seedling will then trigger Phi to teleport us there. And we don't really want that, so we try to keep it off camera. And yeah, grabbing the reward sets a flag. And if we apply that flag to Elden, the trial is open. And luckily, this trial opens even if you don't have Din's power from the Isle of Songs. Right, and now you can see a lot of the goddess skip on Hugo's side. Also reverse bit warping into the cutscene. Very nice. And now, as you can see, the gate of time is raised. You can't actually fight Imprisoned 1 now, because we skipped the story flag that triggers Imprisoned 1. So yeah. And also Gruus is still out there, because we have talked to him in back in time, so it doesn't get transferred to our file. So we can still talk to Gruus, but we don't want to because that would be slow. And some more trial action on Pika's side. Elden Trial is one of the longer trials, but it's pretty cool. There are also a few cycles that you want to make. Also, this side hops just skips going around, so that's nice. Yeah, especially this cycle here with the Watcher. One of the cycles you want to get. Meanwhile, Hugo is also doing Song of the Hero skip. And also, if you're wondering why he selected Phi 3 and then as soon as he loaded into the sky select Phi 2, that's because if you have Phi 2 selected and mount on the Loft Wing, you will load into the sky immediately. Because that file has the Hero's Tunic. But the problem is, if the sky loads and you have the Hero's Tunic, the game will crash because it is in a layer, so in a state that can't load in back in time. But fortunately, if we select file 1 before that, it will load us in the state of file 2. And file 2 is saved after the Loftwings tutorial, which is possible to load in back in time. And since we applied the Elden Light Pillar to file 2, we are able to get into the Elden Light Pillar, which conveniently puts us in Farron. And yeah, that's how we reach Farron in back in time. Nice dancing around the Dekobabas. Right. Hugo is also entering Farron with 5-2, so the cutscene plays. The cutscene that plays is just basically to delay the doors to Lake Floria opening, because that's the flag we're interested in. And it looks like he got it. Right. And now Fi talks to you, but that doesn't do anything. The sealed ground text you saw popping up there in the left is what actually persisted the change. Right, and Pikastroff is almost done with trial, sadly, because the trials are cool. Shoutouts to all dungeons for doing all of the trials and not 2. Alright, let's see if Hugo attempts harp cancel. So there is a trick. If you do the last strum and then put away your harp immediately, the game will register that you did the last strum. Unfortunately you missed it. The game will still complete the trial and it will be open, but the cutscene of Fi singing will not play. And the trial will also be invisible, but we can still enter it, so it's fine. It just saves a little bit of time, but it's not too bad if you miss it. And now, since we have the fire shield earrings from the trial, Pika is able to enter the top here. And funnily enough, not the fire shield earrings themselves are the trigger for this, but a story flag that directly sets after you get the fire shield earrings. Normally, like, before that, there is a fire trigger around the area so that you can't enter Volcano Summit. Unfortunately. So we still have to do that trial. Alright, and now we're basically gonna do the back in time we did in Skyview Temple earlier again, where we save 5-3 and then run into the cutscene trigger of the gossip stone that rises up. And this sets the flag here. This sets a very important flag, but you will see. But to persist this change, we have to go in and out of this area. Because it is the closest real scene flag change. And now we're gonna do another RBM directly after that. That's an interesting strat Hugo just did to do a side up onto the log. Oh yeah, it's time for Lumpy Pumpkin. For the Lumpy Pumpkin dive. So we're gonna do the same thing we've done a couple of times. Save file 2 to load our loft wing in, because otherwise without saving file 2 here, we couldn't call the loft wing. And then we open up the splash screen, which opens file 3. We call our loft wing, we jump on our loft wing, we select file 2, and then we're in the sky. And one thing I haven't mentioned about the loft wing tutorial yet is that it restricts you to a certain area. So you can't go back to Skyloft, you basically can't go anywhere, and because of a miracle, we can reach Elden Light Pillar in this, because of course you were never supposed to have Elden Light during the loft wing tutorial. But also a thing is, you can't, since file 2 can't jump off the loft wing, we loaded into the sky with file 2, we can't jump off the loft wing. And how are we gonna fix that? Because our goal here is to get to the Lumpy Pumpkin. And if you know where the Lumpy Pumpkin is, it is in the sky, but it's also pretty far away from where we are right now. It's pretty far away from the loft wing tutorial. But what we're basically gonna do now is we're gonna go into Farron and then go out right away. This loads us in the loft wing tutorial layer again, but now we select file 3, and when we jump on our loft wing, it loads that we have the ability to jump off our loft wing. And the game only puts you back into the bounds of the loft wing tutorial thing if you are on the loft wing. So if you're just diving around, you are not affected by that. So what we're gonna do now is we're gonna jump off, and now we're diving. We're diving far and far away from the loft wing tutorial into the direction of the Lumpy Pumpkin. And even if you fail that and go like somewhere wrong, you can still try again, but it looks like Pikastroff did an excellent job and got it first try. So yeah, calling the loft wing now would be pretty bad, but he knows his stuff. And luckily we can just enter the Lumpy Pumpkin, even though you were never supposed to enter the Lumpy Pumpkin during the wing ceremony. I always want to say wing ceremony, but it's the loft wing tutorial. And since the thing we need is outside at night, we're gonna sleep tonight in the Lumpy Pumpkin and then go outside. And now we can select file 1 because the night layer does not crash on the sky with the hero's tunic, which is really nice because file 1 is the file that has Mad Patrol, so it is the file that has the gratitude crystals. And so what we can do now is we start file 1 and then get the gratitude crystal. And all of the gratitude crystals have a scene flag assigned to them so that you don't collect them twice. And with this technique, we now have the scene flag of the gratitude crystal applied to Volcano Summit. And what this crystal does is very, very important, because normally to enter the next dungeon we basically need to do two things. We need to water all the frogs. Before that. And the first frog is easy, but the second frog requires claw shots, which we don't have. And the third frog requires the Scrapper Escort, which we don't have, and we also can't activate that because we haven't done Ancient Cistern yet. So yeah, this is a problem. And how we're gonna solve this problem is reverse bit magic, because the Gossip Stone activated the second frog and the Lumpy Pumpkin Crystal activated the third frog. I mean, deactivated, but now the flames are gone. But the thing is, the last frog is controlled by 2 flags, and one is a story flag, which we can't RBM. And if we reload this area, the flames would be up again. So we have to be careful to not reload at all. But yeah, now we're inside the last dungeon. Well, even casually, it's not the last dungeon, but it's basically the last dungeon before you would start the Song of the Hero sequence, I guess. That's how you can call it. And this is Fire Sanctuary, which is also nicknamed RBM Sanctuary, because to beat this dungeon, we're gonna do a lot of RBMs. And the reason we do that is because we don't have the necessary items to do this normally, because normally this dungeon requires at least claw shots, hook beetle, and gust bellows as well, even though I think you can skip them. But casually you can't get around claw shots and hook beetle. There is an old way. I mean, there is a way to skip the hook beetle, I guess, but oh, is Pikastroff stream having problems, or is just on my end? I guess I'll just refresh it. What I was gonna say is that you need a lot of stuff to beat this dungeon. But with the power of reverse bit magic, we can set 4 different flags onto Fire Sanctuary to beat it really quickly. And it seems, I don't know, Pikastroff. I can't see Pikastroff now. Well, basically you have to imagine him doing a lot of stuff in Back in Time. Oh, it's on your end. Okay. Don't worry. We've got time. So I can explain what all the stuff does, what he's doing in Back in Time now. First, he's gonna get a gratitude crystal in Back in Time, which will allow him to fly to the overworld bird statue that is in Fire Sanctuary, because it's very, very convenient that there is an overworld bird statue you can fly to, which already gets you pretty much close to the boss door. It gets you right in front of the boss door, in fact. Then he's gonna talk to all 3 statues, even though in this segment he will only talk to 2 of those statues. And 2 of those statues will allow the bars before the boss key to be raised. So we can get the boss key without getting the dungeon item. And the last statue will open up the shortcut between the boss door and the boss key. So what you have to do after you've done all of the RBMs is to just fly to the bird statue, grab the boss key, and then you're done with the dungeon. And have to fight the boss, I guess. But yeah, that's how we're gonna beat Fire Sanctuary the speedrun way. And in this process, we are gonna skip the claw shots, we're gonna skip the magma mitts, which is the item in Fire Sanctuary, but it's not needed for the boss, and we would pretty much need it for the boss key puzzle, but yeah, with the power of RBM, we can skip that. Also, Pikastroff says... Right, it seems like Pikastroff is having a little bit of problems getting back live again. All right. And Pikastroff is in the race again. So I hope we can see his stream in a bit. Meanwhile, we can enjoy Hugo running around in the Elder Trial. Elder Trial is pretty cool. A lot of nice movement. Also, this rope really sucks because if you approach it in the wrong angle, Link will just hang from it, which is really slow. So, yeah. But we need to get there to get this tier. Unfortunately. And now we're running around again. Getting... Oh. And you got the cycle, which is nice. One thing that really nice that's really nice about this trial is that you can that's nice about the trials in general is that all the tiers will refill your stamina, so you can roll a lot more than normal gameplay. No. Frick. Hugo unfortunately stepped on the waking water, trying to get the second to last tier, which will then alert all of the guardians. And it seems like Pikastroff is back. Get a big PogChamp in chat for that. Right, I don't know how much we're gonna, how much of the RBMs we missed on Pikastroff's side, since basically how you do Fire Sanctuary is you do 3 RBMs, and then you do something else, and then you do another RBM when you come back to Fire Sanctuary. And these RBMs can basically be done in any order. It just matters that you have done them all at the end. Also, Hugo is doing a little bit of optimization here, bombing himself and entering the loading zone, so that he's on 2 hearts when entering here, so that it only takes 1 jump into the lava to die. Alright, Pikastroff is now getting the Gratitude Crystal in Orion Pidgey Cells. And this Gratitude Crystal, Pikastroff just collected, allows you to go to the bird statue. And it seems like he has already done all of the other RBMs, so he can just do... Well, it's time for another interesting trick. And so now he will get in a very precise position. I gotta make sure the setup's correct. This position is actually kind of precise, so it might take a few tries for him to be comfortable that it's the right position. Since this trick is probably my least favorite in the run, because if you mess up the position here, you will now in a few minutes, if you've got it, and it will take a lot of time to redo it. So it's better to be safe than sorry. Alright. And also, grab the fairy, because after this, we're gonna take a little bit more damage. I'm not gonna spoil where we're going yet, but it will be really cool. Meanwhile, Hugo is setting up for the Lumpy Pumpkin dive. So both of them are now going into Farron and back in time. So that's interesting. And I should explain again why Hugo is doing what he's doing. So basically we are in the state of the Loftwing tutorial, which has a giant barrier around the area you're supposed to be in. And luckily, the Elden Light pillar is in reach, so we can dive down there. And it gets us to Farron, but the thing is, what we want to reach now is the Lumpy Pumpkin. And how we're gonna accomplish this is, we are gonna go into Farron, and then fly back out. And then, before we mount our Loftwing, we are gonna select file 3, because File 3 has the ability to jump off the loft ring. So then we also have the ability to jump off the loft ring in back in time. And the restriction of the barrier only applies to the loft ring, and not if you're just Link diving around. So that's pretty useful, because what we're gonna do now is we're gonna flap really high and then jump off the loft ring. Alright, let's see if Hugo can get it as clean as Pikastroff did. Alright, you can already see the lumpy pumpkin there in the distance, so... Hugo's probably fine. No, I think he's a bit too far away still. Also, Pikastroff has to make sure to not select file 1 there when going in here, because that would load... the problem with that, it would load the cutscene of Fi telling you, oh hey, this is a shortcut to Fern Woods. And the problem is, it opens the map. And opening the map crashes in back in time. But now we're gonna ancient cistern in back in time. Which is why we needed that precise position. Because what we're gonna do now is a reverse bit warp. We're gonna start file 1, and it will load us in there, and nice, really excellent. He got it first try. So this is why the position has to be so precise, because you almost load in on the floor above, which you really don't want to, because that would mean, the reason we are doing this reverse bit warp is to get to the boss key early. And this skips a lot of the dungeon, because now we don't have to do all the puzzles that lead to the boss key. We still have to get the dungeon item, because we need it for the boss. So... we still need to do a bit of stuff in this dungeon. And similar to Skyview, where when we did the bit warp, the room wasn't loaded properly, the same thing happens here as well. So the room isn't loaded properly, and we have to go in and out of the door to fix it. And now we can climb the rope. Alright, and seems like Hugo also got the Lumpy Pumpkin Dive and got the Gratitude Crystal. Very... Pikastroff doing a safety save, so the thing is, if you would die now in Ancient Cistern, it would put you all the way back to Fire Sanctuary, which is really bad, so better do a safety save. Nice cutscene skip, so you can do a little cutscene there if you don't jump on one of the lily pads. Because jumping on the lily pads would trigger a cutscene, but if you jump slash over it, it doesn't trigger, which is really nice. It just saves a few seconds, so not that important, but It's nice to have, I guess. Alright, and Hugo is entering Fire Sanctuary as well. Meanwhile, Pikastroff is grabbing a small key. So we're able to get into the statue. Not into the statue, so since we already got the boss key, the statue is already lowered. But now the key door blocks going to the whip, which is the item of this dungeon. So this is why we still need the key in order to open that door and get the whip. Alright, it's time for RBM Sanctuary for Hugo. All the RBMs. Yo, hello ZeldaSpeedRuns. Rating with a party of 157, thanks. And welcome to Title Screen the game. So right now, Pikastroff is a bit ahead. Tuku is a little bit behind, but we're gonna see how this race will develop. So Hugo is still in the process of applying a lot of flags from Skyloft to Fire Sanctuary, because we lack a lot of the tools that are needed to beat Fire Sanctuary the normal way. So in Skyward Sword we have a trick to gain control on the title screen called Back in Time. And what we're gonna do with what one of the most recent found glitches is that we can actually apply flags that we set in Back in Time to our main run file. And if it's a scene flag which is specific to an area, that means they mean something totally different to the area we are applying them to. So now we are talking to the Lower Academy statue. And the Lower Academy statue is part of two flags that control that the bars before the boss keys are raised. So if we set these two flags in Back in Time, we can get the boss key without doing the puzzle that is necessary for it. And the puzzle would require the Margramits, and by doing the RBMs, the reverse bit magic, we can totally skip the Margramits and shorten this dungeon by a lot. Right, now it's time for Colocto. You want to have 4 hearts for this fight, because crap, that involves taking 2 hearts of damage. Which we're gonna see in a bit. He got blocked by the hands. Normally you want to hit his centers to manipulate his attack. Unfortunately, he missed the 1 cycle. Because the way you normally do it is you place 2 bombs, and 2 bombs do enough damage to finish the first phase. But unfortunately he missed it, so that just means he has to whip up the arms again. And Coloctus has to stop throwing the boomerangs. Alright, and now you can just hit him a bunch, because hitting a bomb now wouldn't help. Alright, now it's time for the second phase of Colloq. In the second phase, you're supposed to grab one of his giant swords and use them against him, but the sword don't do that much damage actually. So all we're gonna do is we're gonna grab the sword, make sure he can't hit us anymore, and open up his heart, and then with only 2 Skyward strikes, he's dead. Because apparently they forgot to about the upgraded Skyward Strike in hero mode. So this does a lot of damage to Coloctus. And that's Ancient Cistern. Yup, the Skyward Strike in hero mode is OP. Not in normal mode though. Yeah, hero mode changes three things. You get the upgraded Skyward Strike, you get to skip cutscenes that you've watched on your normal mode file, and the air meter underwater depleter. How? What? I have never seen that before. That was interesting. It seems like he spawned in the wrong location or something. Yo, and ZeldaSpeedRuns 2 is also raiding. Welcome raiders. Oh yeah, that might be it, that you can control Link up first frame of that cutscene. Sounds correct. In the meantime, Hugo is in the process of entering Ancient Cistern, so remember, he saved in a very precise position in Fire Sanctuary. And the reason for that is that he's gonna use the position that is saved and apply that to Ancient Cistern. You can't skip cutscenes you haven't watched on the normal mode file. Simply as that. I don't think you are able to do that casually, but yeah, if you haven't watched the file on normal mode, then you can't skip it in hero mode. The difference between English and Japanese is only text, but the only is a like 5-minute difference, so that's pretty nice. Well, at least for the Japanese, I guess. Also, something I haven't mentioned here, Hugo is now shooting the slingshot, and shooting the slingshot loads in the Water Dragon scale from file 1. So this is how we're gonna climb up here to Ancient Cistern. Alright, now it's the moment of truth. Getting into Ancient Cistern. So by now starting the file, the game will start with the coordinates you saved in, but it will load you, unfortunately, in the wrong position. But it loaded you in the position you saved, and If it would have been slightly better, then he would have been able to get the boss key from that. But unfortunately, he has to do it again. Meanwhile, Pikastroff did the last RBM on Fire Sanctuary, and we can now just go here. You notice that the shortcut is open, and the shortcut was opened with reverse bit magic before. And now we can go into the room where we can get the boss key, and instead of doing the puzzle, we just get this cutscene for some reason, and then there's the boss key. So this skips again the need for all the items, for a lot of items, for the magma mitts, for the claw shots, because we do so little in Linaru. Getting the claw shots would be really a waste of time. Right, now it's time for Grim 2. In the first phase, you just want to do a spin and then a slash to be able to do as much damage to the head as possible. And then he gets 2 swords, and unfortunately this fight is random, so what attacks he gives you exactly is random, but yeah. You just try to do optimal spins and slashes to do the most damage possible for each of his attacks. And then, yeah, it's pretty much doing that for a bit, and then he's dead. Which will be soon. That was close. Alright, and let's gear him. Girahim is dead. And that's the end of Fire Sanctuary. And since we are low health and kind of need health for the next part, we're gonna grab this heart container. Hugo actually grabbed the heart container earlier for safety, I guess. It's not too big of a deal. Alright. So, for the reason why we beat Fire Sanctuary is needed to trigger the second imprisoned battle. For us it will be the first, because we never did the first one. And if you defeat the imprisoned for the second time, you then have only then you're able to open the Gate of Time. We raised it earlier, but we still haven't opened it yet. And opening the Gate of Time allows us to go into the past. And then we already have the door open. So yeah, we can just finish the game from there. And Nice. Hugo just got it. Hugo got the Ancient Sister reverse bit warp. Probably one of the worst tricks in the run. Since failing it is so bad. But he did it. So that's nice. Also, he's doing a brake slide to be able to go in the... I don't know what that shit is, to go faster in there. In the poison, I guess. But yeah. So, you are really correct in asking why did we beat Ancient Cistern then? Because Ancient Cistern is not a requirement to trigger the Imprisoned 2 battle. But the problem is, if you don't finish Ancient Cistern, then the Imprisoned 2 fight just straight up crashes, and the fastest way to avoid that crash is to beat Ancient Cistern. So yeah, pretty much everything we do in this run is just to open the Gate of Time. Because after that we can go to the Horde and beat the game. So if there was some way to open the Gate of Time faster, then that would probably result in a faster 80% run. But until we find something new, this is the fastest way. Beating Ancient Cistern and Fire Sanctuary. Also, what you see here, when we save file 1, it will load the racetracks, and the racetracks are the thing that crashes if they aren't there doing the Imprisoned 2 fight. So yeah. Also, we need to be in target mode here to not crash here as well. Yeah, there were a lot of things that crash here for some reason, but it's fine, we got this. So what we're doing right now is we're gonna trigger the Imprisoned 2 battle while being back in time. And the reason we're gonna do that is because it skips a few cutscenes. If there are a few cutscenes that are associated with trying to open the Gate of Time, and we're just interested in this cutscene right here because this is the cutscene that sets the story flag that actually triggers the Imprisoned 2 battle. And I think Pikastroff got it. We're gonna see it in a second. So the music that is now playing is still because of the Imprisoned 1 being triggered, but now you see that the circle down there is flashing red, which means that we actually did it. Imprisoned 2 is now triggered. And this is one of the hardest... Yeah, this is a pretty hard battle, I would say. To do in back in time... not back in time, but to do in general. So the strat is to hit all of it. To hit all the fingers as fast as possible, because it would allow you to go up the first updraft. Unfortunately he missed it, but that's still fine because we can just go on his head now. And then we gotta do a strat to try to stay on his head by doing an attack and then a jump slash, because if you're in the air and then hit the stone on his head, the game will think you're not on his head and doesn't play the animation of throwing you off. But unfortunately, Pikastroff missed it. So we're gonna have to do backup strats. And the Imprisoned 2 will now try to go up one level, I guess. And we don't really want that. So we're just gonna shut him down with the Gruzinator. Shoutouts to Gruz and the Gruzinator, by the way. Also, you can skip the cutscene of following the bomb by quickly going out of the target mode. Unfortunately, he missed the second slash as well. So yeah. That's unfortunate. Wow. That was mean in prison. Oh, and it seems also that Hugo fell down. The game doesn't actually care if you have the save clause for some of the cutscenes. Like if you go back to the sky for example, or if you come from the sky, the game will always display the cutscene with the save clause actually in Link's hand, even if you don't have them. Even if you don't have the save clause. So Hugo got it the second time. Because what you do there is I haven't mentioned that the first time, but what you do there is a precise jump that Link grabs the ledge of the floor down there because you want to avoid taking damage. And if you would jump down there normally, you would take damage. But for some reason, if you just hang there with your fingers, with the tip of your fingers, then you don't take damage. I mean, it makes sense, right? That is true, only strong fingers can wield the masses. Also, now that we beat the Imprisoned 2, it still shows the symbol of the seal after Imprisoned 1. Because you're obviously not supposed to skip Imprisoned 1. But now all that's left is opening the Gate of Time, and then doing the final Horde fight, and then doing even more final fights. Alright, cutscenes and Pika's side. I guess he's also getting the healing from the stool there. Because what's coming up afterwards is actually hard. Opening Gate of Time, easy. And now it's time to get the true Master Sword. Because it's technically not required for the run, but it makes the final fights a bit faster. Well, the game is hard, that's true, but Horde is stupid. And the Bokoblins are stupid. Also, Hugo got the quick kill in the first phase. And now we're gonna see if Pikastroff did Song of the Hero skip correctly, and he did. So now you can see this cutscene isn't playing normally, but we can still skip it because we're in hero mode. That's a wonderful description, Dish. I agree. So yeah. Now Hugo will also do the quick kill on phase 2. First, open up his heart, I guess, and then with only 2 Skyward strikes, he's dead. Meanwhile, Pikastroff is killing all the horde. Alright, horde skip is coming up. So let's pretend we haven't seen the spoiler and see if we got horde skip or not, but unfortunately missed it. Camera was doing stupid things. But luckily all of the moblins died. All of the moblins died from the bombs. Yeah, it's really nice if you fail horde skip, but at least all of the moblins die immediately. I read that was at least nice. With the Skyward strike, he was able to get the Bokoblin. So if you manage to get that blue Bokoblin over the fence, he will fall down and die. So that's pretty nice. Because you usually don't see that fight because of horde skip, but only here you will see it. Yeah, that blue guy's strat was pretty good. I think I'm gonna steal that. And that was a very nice last section, getting through without getting punched. Alright, and now it's time for the final Bokoblins of Horde. Alright. They're all dead. And that was Horde. That was very, very well done. Did he even need the fairy? He didn't need the fairy, that's very impressive. Pretty good. Alright, and now for Girahim, you want to... The goal, how the fight works is, you have to throw him off the platforms. And the fastest way to do that is just hit him a bunch. And then you also need to do a final blow on him every time. And to shorten the distance you need to make with the final blow, you try to jump down with him. So that is how this fight works. Alright. Meanwhile, Hugo is doing the last RBM in Fire Sanctuary. Alright, and now there's a quick kill strat for this. If you hit his... Oh. Apparently Pika is not doing it, but... You can hit a sword out of his hand, and then do and then do a Skyward strike. You can do it in one hit. You wretched brat! Girahim is mean to us. Oh, what? Glad we still have the fairy. I'm not sure if blindfolded is... We don't have proof anyway. And that was Girahim. The last Girahim. And now it's time for the final battle against Demise. And this is where the shield is really nice. So the device fight is pretty quick if done optimally. So don't blink. Oh, you miss it. Alright, so the first thing we're gonna do is slash left and right and then do a spin. And then slash from the top and do a spin again. Unfortunately it didn't work. Oh, but he still got in the stun. And once you're getting him stunned, you can stun lock him by repeatedly slashing him and reflecting his attacks. So that was a very, very nice first phase. And in the second phase... Ah, dang it. He missed it. He unfortunately missed it. And now the shield is gone, so... Dang it. So the problem with Demise in the second phase is that if you don't get the stun immediately, it is really hard to recover from that, especially if your shield breaks. So I think he probably wants to load his save. He did save, right? I see that correctly? Alright, and Hugo is also done with Girahim 2, so he will be going to the Imprison 2 battle really soon. And he also has 9 hearts, I think. Oh yeah, that's true. Hugo is on huge PB pace. So... not much left for both of them. Hugo... First of all, Hugo is playing on English, which is just a little bit slower overall. But he also missed the reverse bit warp into Ancient Cistern once, which cost him a lot of time. Yeah, and just some mistakes here and there. Alright. And Pikastroff got it. Nice. Pikastroff finished. GG. That was a very, very clean second phase. Because yeah, in the second phase, after you've done all the shield dashes, you do a spin to stun him again. And then the first time you knock him down to the ground, you can't do the final blow on him. But then you can just charge up a Skyward Strike and hit him as soon as he goes up again, and kill him. So yeah, that was really nice. So, I mean, you've already written a lot about. You've already written a lot about this around the chat, so I know you can't go in voice chat right now, right? So, if anybody has any questions to our winner, Pikastroff, type it in chat and he'll probably answer. But that was a really, really well done run. It was really clean, and I'm very, very sorry for that thing with OBS and stuff that happened in Fire Sanctuary. And also, this run got circled, so this is a very, very good run.
So how far? I'm like, how far is Hugo behind? Roughly.
He still needs to do Imprison 2 and Horde, and then the final fights. I don't know. A few minutes.
It's like, I want to say, from what you said, like 15 minutes, probably.
Dush says 15 minutes. I believe him. I don't actually know how much time stuff takes, honestly.
Also, sadly, Hugo has no audio on stream, by the way. So,
Oh.
yeah, I guess we just reply to a few questions and then host Hugo, I want to say.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm impressed by because they're playing and typing. Though lost a bit of time at some times, I think. Oh, it seems like who is having problems with opening the door, but I guess it worked now. It's kind of dumb because you need to be targeted while having 5-3 selected, because otherwise the game just crashes for some reason. So yeah, if you select any other file, it's okay, but 5-3 crashes. But 5-3 is also the file that is needed to open it, so you kind of have to select 5-3. And now it's time to. So when Gruus goes outside, the game sets a story flag to trigger the Imprison 2 battle, and that's precisely the story flag that we want to apply to file 1. So now the Imprison 2 battle should be triggered, unless that was too late, which it might have been, I don't know. No, it looks good. It's flashing red, so we got it. Nice. So let's see how the battle will go for him. Oh, he got the fingers really quickly. It's nice.
Okay, do you hear me?
Yes.
Pika!
Hello.
Yo!
Yo!
Hello.
Yeah, it's actually working.
How are you doing?
I'm doing fine. What about you? Thank you for that commentary. Because
wow,
I guess
that was really close from Hugo's side there. All right, and this.
Yeah.
So now we can see on Hugo's side how it works if you get the jump slash. So if you get this jump slash and are still in the air while you hit the ceiling spike, the game considers you. Oh, that was game being really mean. So how this works is it lets you stay on the head, but unfortunately he couldn't hit it right after that, so he still got thrown off. Anyway.
Yeah, that fight is really tough with Imprisoned because the timing, the positioning is a bit precise. And so even like if you get the right timing, if you're badly positioned, it means that when Link actually hits like the little the actual seal in, he will actually touch the surface of the imprisoned's head, and because of that, he will still be counted as being on his head, and therefore will be thrown off.
Yeah.
And it's just very obnoxious. So yeah, definitely, it's quite a thing. Even like top runners sometimes have difficulties doing that fight.
Yeah, but if you get everything correctly, Imprisoned 2 is a really quick and impressive fight still.
Yeah.
It's
like when you
definitely
get
a really cool strat.
when you get a perfect fight, it's like 2 minutes. It's very quick.
All right, it seems like Hugo got it again, so let's hope he can get the he can actually finish Imprisoned 2 now.
Yeah, it looks like he got it.
That's really nice. And seems like you got it. Nice. So getting the second one is more important than the first one because it skips more of Imprisoned rolling around. So even though he got unlucky in the first time, still got it the second time. So pretty good fight.
Okay, now that this fight is over, what Hugo's gonna do is that he's gonna, well, activate the Door of Time, go to the past, get the True Master Sword, and then get to the Horde. And normally, if I recall correctly, because I was like watching a bit his run, and from what I saw, he collected a few extra heart containers. Am I correct?
Yeah, he also collected one more bottle for a fairy.
Nice.
But Pikastroff,
Yeah,
I'm gonna ask you, how do you feel about getting the most important trick in the run?
circles, is it?
Yes, circles.
Yes, getting circles is obviously the most important thing you can do in a run. No questioning to that.
Yeah.
I
Very
can be
good
very
trick.
proud.
You should be proud of that.
Did Hugo get it?
Unfortunately not.
Oh,
Very sad.
next time,
but
hopefully.
Next time.
Next time.
Next run. I should actually take a look at the bracket.
But that battle that Hugo's about to do can be really tough. You may like when you haven't really either when it's been like a long while since you've played Skyward Sword, or you just haven't played it. I mean, you can get it. The Horde is difficult, but there's always that experience when you're you try it and then you're like, oh no, it's actually very, very hard to avoid all the enemies and all that. And it can get really, really tough really quickly when you lose a bit of control at times, which can happen easily. So it's okay if something happens, and that's why it's a good strat that Hugo did to collect some backup hearts, not potion, like the backup bottle for the extra fairy.
Yeah, it's nice.
Alrighty. I guess at this point, without any music, or like audio, it's a little weird. So I guess we'll just host over to Hugo and give him like the entire spotlight for the rest of the race.
I reckon so. Yeah, that seems like a good idea.
Yeah, I want to give a big shout out to both Pika for winning and contesting, as well as to Laplot for doing the entire commentary session of this race by himself.
No problem.
Yeah, this game can be complex to explain, so GG on the commentary. And thank you, Tres, for the restream.
Good thing.
Thanks for the restream. Yeah, nice.
I hope you all had a blast, and we are going to be back with more Skyward Sword and other stuff soonish. Thanks everyone for watching. Take care.
Thanks everyone.
See you all.
Also now see our new beautiful end screen before we host.